Good morning. The first item of business is general questions. At question number 1, I call Bill Kidd.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government regarding any potential environmental impact, what its response is to reports that a Category A nuclear safety event occurred at Faslane Naval Base between January and April this year.
Cabinet Secretary Gillian Martin.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Defence, including the operation of the Faslane Naval Base, is a reserved matter. However, the Scottish Government places great importance on the safe, secure and responsible management of radioactive substances while protecting people and the environment. As such, repeated reports of serious incidents at Faslane are extremely worrying. Of course, the only way to get rid of Trident is with independence, and this SNP Scottish Government's long-standing position is that nuclear weapons have no place in an independent Scotland.
Bill Kidd.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that response. Can I ask the Cabinet Secretary if there is any information that has been made available by the Westminster Government to the Scottish Government in terms of addressing the radioactive waste released by this nuclear safety failure and of work in cleaning the affected area and ensuring the physical health of local residents following this event?
Cabinet Secretary.
In short, the answer is no. It's regrettable that the Ministry of Defence has not released details of the reported Category A nuclear site event report, given they define Category A as the most serious. They have informed us that the incident posed no risk to the public and did not result in any radiological impact to the environment. However, the Scottish Government has not received any further information on the nature of the incident and, given nuclear weapons are an ever-present danger, this is disappointing and does not provide the public with the reassurance that they need. They have also informed us that the incident reported was handled in accordance with the extant policy and in collaboration with the Defence Nuclear Safety Regulator, but that has been the sum of it.
Ash Regan.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I agree with the Minister, Cabinet Secretary. This is extremely concerning that there has been a Category A safety event at Faslane, and it certainly brings Scotland's environmental risks from nuclear into very sharp focus. With the NDA draft strategy of 2025 proposing a transfer of defence nuclear liabilities, including Vulcan, into the civil sector, will the Scottish Government step up to ensure Scotland does not inherit Westminster's nuclear legacy in secret? And will she make a commitment to have a full debate here so that we can scrutinise things like risk assessments before any decisions are made?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, I'd like to go into detail of what Ash Regan has just put forward, but with regard to a debate, I'm always willing to have a debate on this issue. I think it's an issue that concerns many people across Scotland. And although there is an agreement between SEPA and the Defence Ministry on reporting incidents such as this and the impact that they have, I think that it's very worrying that these events are actually happening in the first place. With regard to a debate, I believe that Bill Kidd actually did submit a motion for a members' debate on this issue, and hopefully I'll see that getting the support across the chamber that it deserves.
Question number 2, Maurice Golden.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government how it is supporting entrepreneurship.
Deputy First Minister.
Well, recent Tech Nation data shows Scotland's start-up economy is booming. Our 19% growth rate is among the fastest in Europe. Our ambition is to establish Scotland as one of Europe's fastest growing start-up economies. That's backed by a record £30 million of investment this year, including a £2.9 million proof of concept fund, translating research discoveries into commercial propositions. And we, of course, continue to support TechScaler as well, amongst Europe's best start-up incubators, and I believe one of this government's finest achievements.
Maurice Golden.
I thank the Deputy First Minister for that response. The NatWest Accelerator programme has already supported over 10,000 new businesses, created 12,000 jobs and drove £700 million worth of investment. This should be celebrated. However, throughout Scotland, businesses consistently raise concerns about a fragmented funding landscape, overly complex procurement processes and the sheer number of agencies they are expected to navigate, over 300 in total. Does the Deputy First Minister agree that business support must be simplified and streamlined to ensure entrepreneurs are better supported to make their ambitions a reality?
Deputy First Minister.
The very principle that underpins Maurice Golden's question is what prompted Mark Logan to essentially design the blueprint which we've been putting into place over the last few years. And if you look at the compound annual growth rate, for example, of key European start-up economies, it shows that the approach taken to streamline is working. I mentioned Scotland's 19% growth rate. If I compare that, UK 12.5%, France 12%, Sweden 10%, Netherlands 10%. So whilst there's obviously continued work to do, bringing everything together into tech scaler is one example. Equally, in an adaptable and innovative market, you don't want to over-micromanage the process either. So I believe that the approach that we're taking is working, but we need to collaborate with NatWest and others. And of course, NatWest figures out earlier this year showed again that we continue to grow this year in terms of the highest number, one of the highest numbers of start-up rates in UK.
Audrey Nicholl.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. And I welcome the record funding for entrepreneurism the Scottish Government is investing this year, which comes alongside the news that Scotland is now the fastest growing start-up nation in Europe. So can the Deputy First Minister say any more about the renewed support the Scottish Government is providing to start-ups and any collaboration with the private sector?
Deputy First Minister.
I thank Audrey Nicholl for that point around collaboration with the private sector. One of the best examples in recent weeks has been the commitment to co-invest in Scottish Edge. So we have committed to investing £3.6 million in Scottish Edge over the next 3 years, which means that leading entrepreneurs have committed additional funding to Scottish Edge. Our risk capital market grew 19% to £704 million, with significant private sector participation as well. So all of that is all of these are examples of what's actually happening. In other words, it's outcomes and outputs rather than just focusing it in on the inputs.
Question number 3, Liz Smith.
To ask the Scottish Government what discussions it has had with Transport Scotland about motorway gantry signs.
Cabinet Secretary Fiona Hislop.
The messages displayed on electronic signs on gantries are part of the Traffic Scotland service provided by Transport Scotland. Traffic Scotland gathers real-time information on Scotland's trunk road and motorway network, and this informs messaging displayed on gantries. Messages can include reduced speed limits, implementation of lane restrictions, or information regarding incidents or congestion ahead. These messages are deployed as soon as possible after verification and aim to reduce the disruption that is caused by trunk road closures, congestion, events, roadworks, adverse weather, accidents and other incidents. When gantry signs are not being used to support a high-priority operational response, such as those above, background safety information is displayed to coincide with topical events or other areas of road safety focus. Those messages are reviewed annually by Traffic Scotland.
Liz Smith.
Thank you. The Cabinet Secretary, I asked exactly the same question of her in June 2023 and also of her predecessor, Humza Yousaf, in 2017. And I'm going to ask it again on behalf of my constituents in Mid-Scotland and Fife, who make extensive use of the M90 and M9 motorways, because there are still issues with gantry signs that are not time-sensitive. Indeed, I've seen it for myself. Information that there is congestion and queues ahead when there is no such thing. And that's unhelpful to drivers who have to make a decision about which roads that they're going to take. So this time in asking, can I ask that these constituents be assured by the Cabinet Secretary that will press Transport Scotland to do something about this ongoing problem?
Cabinet Secretary.
So it is important that dynamic messaging is timely and accurate. Also, driver frustration, whether it's dismissal or others, should be avoided. But obviously there are thousands of messages displayed and removed on a daily basis in response to changing and dynamic situations. And indeed, when she last wrote to me, we asked if there were any specific occurrences, because specific occurrences can actually help improve the quality control. And indeed, Traffic Scotland undertook quality checks in November 2023 following the intervention by the member. And my officials have also recently instructed Traffic Scotland to undertake further sample checks for sign setting and removal on the motorway network, including between Fife and Edinburgh, and that process is ongoing. But it is helpful, and I would say Traffic Scotland welcome reports. I would point out that the Traffic Scotland's website will be unavailable between the 13th and 16th due to essential building works at the National Control Centre, So I'm just putting that as a public information notice that's being advertised. But I do think that specific examples, particularly during weekdays, allows them to pinpoint what the exact issue is.
Question number 4, Tim Eagle.
To ask the Scottish Government what support it can offer to help local authorities protect council-run and arm's-length external organisation-run community facilities.
Cabinet Secretary Shona Robertson.
The Scottish Government recognises the critical role of community facilities across Scotland and provided a record local government settlement in 2025-26. That record funding helps local authorities support their local priorities, which would include both council and external-led community facilities, and will continue to work in partnership with local government to ensure that the people of Scotland continue to receive the high-quality public services that they expect and deserve.
Tim Eagle.
Well, the SNP will tell me that council funding has gone up, but that only brings a wry smile to the face of councillors in Scotland, because the actual truth is that cliff edge finances are leaving some vital community facilities in rack and ruin. Facilities like that close to the First Minister at the Jewess Centre, where I believe the ice rink is still under threat. But also, more importantly, in Murray, where Murray Leisure Centre have temporarily closed the ice rink to the shock of local users. Curling, ice hockey and ice skating are all sports we should be encouraging and not closing. Will the Minister ensure they do all they can to find new ways, a new pot of support to keep Murray Leisure Centre and all of these vital facilities open?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, let's put a couple of facts on the record. First of all, local government funding has increased. According to the Accounts Commission,
across the chamber.
For the last 2 years, the Accounts Commission confirmed a real terms increase to local government funding. So that is a fact. Murray Council have received an additional 6.6%. compared to 24-25. I would point out to Tim Eagle, of course, it's the Tories who run Murray Council, so perhaps he should have a word with his own Conservative leadership in Murray Council. In terms of the issues of ice rinks specifically, I appreciate that there will be significant concern felt in the curling community in Elgin in particular. And we're aware of the challenging financial circumstances that face energy-dense sports and leisure facilities. And of course, it is Murray Leisure Trust who have stated that the closure of Elgin Ice Rink is a result of increasing energy costs. So the UK Government have the ability to provide appropriate energy bill relief to facilities that require it. We will consider how we can continue to raise these concerns with the UK Government. Sports Scotland continue to engage with Murray Leisure, Scottish Curling and key partners to understand the current situation at a local level.
Cabinet
So
Secretary.
those discussions will continue.
Thank you. Question number 5, Gordon MacDonald.
Officer, to ask the Scottish Government what recent discussions the Economy Secretary and Business Minister have had with the UK Government regarding tariff exemptions and other support for the Scotch whisky industry.
Minister Richard Lockhead.
My ministerial colleagues and myself regularly meet with the sector to discuss the challenges and opportunities that they face. And indeed, in July, I wrote to UK Government ministers responsible for the sector, calling for action on several trade issues facing the Scotch whisky sector, as well as other iconic Scottish products. And of course, as the Chamber will be aware, the First Minister has been leading from the front and on our intensive engagement with the sector, whilst also raising this important issue with the Prime Minister and directly with the US President this week, because removing the 10% tariff between the US and Scotland would of course deliver economic benefits in both countries.
Gordon MacDonald.
I thank the Minister for that answer. The Scotch Whisky Association recently released new data showing over 1,000 jobs have been lost in the Scotch whisky industry since the last UK budget. In addition to the excise duty increase, the UK Labour Government introduced a national insurance increase, while energy prices remain too high, impacting energy-intensive industries for which they can access no support. Ahead of the next UK budget, what representations will the Scottish Government make to the UK Government to ensure our economy and businesses are better supported to weather difficult economic headwinds?
Minister.
The member raises good points. Indeed, I, along with many other members, was at an event with the Scottish Whisky Association last night in Edinburgh, and I have to say the First Minister standing up for the sector and taking their case directly to Washington went down like a fine dram with the Scottish whisky industry. And of course we now need the same from the UK Government to deliver both in the tariff deal, which is now their opportunity to do that, but also to address issues like the alcohol duty, because reducing the draft duty in the last budget widened the disadvantage facing the spirit sector in our country and is an inherent unfairness in alcohol duty. And there's other issues like national insurance contributions that have been risen, which are also affecting hospitality, which in turn affects the Scotch whisky industry as well. So hopefully the member's right that the UK Government now has to stand up for the whisky industry and address those issues in the forthcoming budget as well.
Murdo Fraser.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I should remind members of my register of interest in relation to hospitality received from the Scotch Whisky Association. And can I join my co-convener of the cross-party group on Scotch whisky in welcoming any moves to reduce damaging tariffs and costs on the industry. But I'm surprised the Minister cannot see the contradiction in the SNP position. If we were members of the EU, as the SNP demand, we'd currently be facing 15% tariffs on Scotch whisky exports, not 10% that we have as part of the United Kingdom. And it's only Brexit freedoms that give us the opportunity to negotiate away those tariffs that we wouldn't have if we were in the EU. So when are the SNP going to rethink their damaging policy on rejoining the EU that would do such destruction to the Scotch whisky sector?
Minister.
If the member was paying attention, you'd know the Scottish Government doesn't want any tariffs in the Scotch whisky industry, either 15%, 10%. And just as his government for many years failed the Scotch whisky industry in relation to the 75% duty on every bottle of Scotch whisky, thanks to his party, the current UK Government so far has got a lot to do to stand up for the Scotch whisky industry as well, and they can address that in the forthcoming budget, as well as following in the footsteps of the First Minister and raising the tariff issue and concluding the deal now that the First Minister set the scene for that deal, hopefully.
Question number 6, Evelyn Tweed.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what measures it is taking to develop year-round support for and promotion of high street businesses in light of the recent Scotland Loves Local Week.
Minister.
Scotland Loves Local Week was a fantastic opportunity to spotlight the year-round campaign, which encourages people to shop in their local businesses, and mechanisms such as the Scotland Loves Local gift card scheme and award encourages people to think and spend more local first, and also recognises that local businesses are so crucial in retaining wealth in our local economy and encouraging vibrancy in our town centres.
Evelyn Tweed.
I thank the Minister for that answer. Go Forth Stirling Bid have reported 26 new business openings in Stirling over the last year, including international brands and small independents. To ask the Minister if they will join me in celebrating in these new openings, and ask what steps the Government are taking to reduce long-term empty units on our high streets.
Minister.
I do join the member in celebrating the new businesses in her constituency. It was fantastic to see the statistics last week of the new businesses created in Scotland being much higher in the first half of this year compared to the first half of last year. And also striking to note that the biggest sector represented in that increase was hospitality businesses as well, and that's very good news for that sector and for the Scottish economy. And the Scottish Government will continue to work with local authorities on our competitive rates regime, which of course addresses the issue of empty and vacant units in our high streets as well, and gives flexibility to local authorities to address that.
Brief question 8, Willie Rennie.
Government whether it will provide an update on its discussions with the University of Dundee and the Scottish Funding Council regarding the university's financial situation.
Secretary Jenny Gilruth.
Since my statement to Parliament in June, I visited the university and held several meetings with university leadership and the Scottish Funding Council, as well as engaging with trade unions and local MSPs, including Mr Rennie, and my officials are holding weekly trilateral meetings with the SFC and the university. A university recovery plan was submitted to the SFC in August, and the SFC wrote to the university a week later with an alternative approach. All parties are now working urgently towards an agreed way forward that ensures a long-term managed recovery.
Willie Rennie.
Ministers continue to say that the situation is urgent, but we're almost a year on from when we first discovered the depths of the problem at the University of Dundee. We need a sustainable recovery plan for Dundee. When is it going to happen?
Cabinet Secretary.
I thank Mr Rennie for his interest. Obviously, he will be aware of my engagement with himself, as I've alluded to, and with the university leadership and the Scottish Funding Council throughout the summer recess, and we will be meeting again next week. We are working at pace with the SFC and the university, and of course it is for the university to come back with an alternative approach. We expect to receive that alternative approach next Monday, and I committed to meet with Mr Rennie and with colleagues from across the affected region next week, along with the Scottish Funding Council. It is imperative that we find an approach for Dundee University that has the buy-in of the wider university community. That includes staff and students. They have to be fundamental to this, and of course the backing of the court, leading with a clear mandate. So I look forward to our engagements next week to that end, Presiding Officer.
That concludes general questions. The next item of business is First Minister's questions.